Hello, I hope you can hear me now.
Yep,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Yes, everybody drops in. And just when you arrive, the sun is also shining. And it doesn't look very nice, but I think it's okay so far. Yes. Okay, welcome to this panel. I'm Richard. I'm some sort of a host, a moderator, so I promise not to talk too much. And yeah, about MediaWiki consulting. With me are 4 people. So Lex Sulzer would not join us because he suggested that he has an important point to discuss, which he would like to present in a lunchtime talk. No, not lunchtime talk. Sorry, in a lightning talk after this panel. So, but at least we have 4 people here, and yeah. So we just will start with that. Before there is somebody missing. We have Art here. We have Alexander. Hi, Alexander. Ike is there, and I miss Jeroen.
Yeah, Jeroen is, I think, jumping on right now.
It's okay. Okay, as far as he is not with us, I just say a few words maybe for introduction, because if we talk about consulting or IT consulting, it's worth to think twice what that really is, because it means so much. And what everybody does, if you don't know the answer, you go to Google and you find answers like an IT consultancy, it's a company who supports companies with the introduction for further development of IT systems. They help to achieve business objectives and so on. If you look further, then you see, okay, it's more about independent consultants, mostly self-employed, but also smaller companies, medium-sized companies. And in the preparation for this talk, for this panel, I was wondering what is going on at the moment, because if you talk about consultants, it's mostly focused on the beginning of a project. It's more if you introduce wikis and yeah, you help to set up the things. And I think that is also a focus in all the discussions we've seen in the last days, but also in the last years here. And I wonder if this is still the market, or is the market moving to more in a direction of asking for permanent services, for maintenance, for, yeah, also, of course, still programming, but hosting and so on. And for find out what is going on, I have here with me Jeroen de Douw, Alexander Gessin, Ike Hecht, and Art Strack von Schindel. And maybe just introduce yourself a bit and maybe say a few words about you briefly before we go deeper in that field. We should start maybe, okay, let's start with Jeroen. In alphabetical lists of the last names.
Yeah, so hello everyone. Is the sound working?
Yes, works fine.
All right, excellent. So I'm Jeroen. I'm a long-time MediaWiki developer, also done a lot of semantic MediaWiki and Wikibase. And I am currently director of Professional Wiki and the Wikibase consultancy.
Perfect, thank you, Jeroen. Okay, Alexander is with us. Hi, Alexander.
Hey, yeah, I'm Alexander, managing director and partner at Gessin IT. We are doing MediaWiki business since 10 years now, since 2011. And we started with a strong focus on semantic MediaWiki and focusing on business solutions based on that platform. And we started 10 years ago with quality management systems. In the meanwhile, there's a large set of applications we provide to our customers. And yeah, that's basically it.
Thank you. Hey, hi, Ike. How are you doing?
Doing good, thank you. So I'm Ike Hecht. I've been doing MediaWiki and consulting since about 2007, various forms. I'm currently the CTO at Wikiworks and also the CTO at Wikitech.
So you're not only an expert in one company, but in several companies. So we have expected very good expertise in this.
In fairness, they're very similar.
Yeah, sounds great. Okay, and of course, some have already seen you in your talk a few years ago.
I'm Ad Strak van Schijndel. I founded Wikibase Solutions in 2012 before there was any Wikibase extension, so it's a bit confusing. But before that, I had a career at Capgemini. So I started in the wiki world with a lot of experience in developing software, and now Wikibase Solutions is a company with about 16, 17 people, and not all of them, lots of them part-time. So I think we have 12 FTE, and we are having a lot of fun.
Perfect. So, so if I see you and me here in this room, then I would say there are about 50 years of experiences with MediaWiki consulting. So maybe everything is already said, but maybe not. So what would you say are in the last year or the coming years, the biggest challenges? What are the opportunities for consultants around of MediaWiki today? So, Ad, for instance, I think you have had some.
Yeah,
in this,
right. Yeah, we when I started, I did about I only had one focus, and that was don't do things that don't have anything to do with knowledge management, because I wanted to be in the primary processes of businesses. So I did about everything, and I'm very glad that right now we are having the focus. So you might even call it a strategy on this content service platform initiative. So we are having a clear point on the horizon that we are. So that for us, that's a change, and I think we are, and that might also be a change. So it's a bit exciting to different markets, and to go into the wide world, so to speak.
Yeah, that's actually a huge vision, isn't it? Because it's a content service provisioning system doesn't sound to be a very small thing, but maybe a big.
I think it's a very small vision, but it might have a big impact.
Yeah.
So I'm looking. So when I just said it to Rob, who was leaving. I said I don't think it's going to take ages before we can have some let's say some CSP product, and then I wouldn't be afraid to go to companies like in the Netherlands to Philips or ASML or Van der Lande. So we have of course here in the Netherlands also very interesting companies, and I would feel confident to knock on their doors and say, well, it's really You don't know it yet, but it's really a very bad idea not to talk with us.
Mhm.
So it's not such a big vision, but it can have a big impact.
Yeah.
So
So
it sounds like
yeah.
I just wanted to add to what I was saying, that basically I'm seeing a difference in people who came to us years ago and people who come to us now, where people before were looking for a wiki. And now I'm seeing much more of people looking to replace specific tools. For example, I think there's two reasons for it. One of them is, for example, what happened with Confluence. And I think we all have to thank Allo Welt for the new script that will migrate from Confluence to MediaWiki that hopefully we can all take advantage of and move people away from it. But Confluence discontinuing their on-server software. So I think that's one reason people are moving toward MediaWiki for tools. And the other is that I think there's much more awareness of the advantages of open source. And I think another is people are getting tired of using tools. There's so many tools out there. I know as somebody's trying to run a company myself. There's so much out there. It's just like keeping track of so many tools. And MediaWiki, if you're going to have one tool that can do everything, so then MediaWiki is probably the best one because it's so customizable and so flexible. So I'm seeing an uptick in people looking for something like Ada's mentioning, where it's specifically for content services, or they want to replace Confluence, or even they want to replace Jira. That's a trend that I'm seeing. People are coming to us because they want MediaWiki instead of something else, not just a wiki.
But Ike, what you're saying is very important, of course, because you're saying people want open source, they want to replace all, and then perhaps MediaWiki is the best option. So let it sink in what that means. So
Yep.
yeah, so there's that's what we are doing every day. Just try to understand what that means and what to do next to go down that road.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's maybe one thing to add. If we are talking really about enterprise business, the difference here is that enterprises, they want to have subscriptions, they want to have service contracts, so that's important to them, to have someone to call if something's not working as expected. And that's what Atlassian provided with Confluence for years. That was their selling proposition. And MediaWiki itself, well, it's open source, it's established, it's the software behind Wikimedia. So everyone knows, okay, that's a stable code base. There are a lot of single-person consultants there, but if you're an enterprise like SAP or other big companies, you need to have someone here that guarantees you that a thing is working as expected. So you have to provide the service level agreements there. You have to provide offerings. You have to provide solutions to typical questions. This can start from hosting stuff over authentication and all these questions. And it's difficult because it's, if you take a look at the MediaWiki stack, well, you have MediaWiki core, but you have a number of extensions. And if you look at the enterprise market for enterprise offerings for Semantic or for MediaWiki, you have a common set of extensions that are usually shipped around MediaWiki that are essential for doing business. And some of these extensions are maintained by a single person. So if this single person is not maintaining it anymore, and you are not able to manage this code base, then of course you cannot guarantee your own customers a certain service level agreement. So providing a stable enterprise offering always requires also some skills in developing the software, being able to understand what's going on in the code base, not only in MediaWiki, but also in the extensions. And that's maybe also something that's changed over the last years, that it's also important to more contribute back to these open source pieces, also to the single person extensions that are essential to provide help with testing and stuff to make these stable and really enterprise ready. And I think that that's important. Otherwise, well, if it's some kind of a random experience that you pick some extensions on specific commits that works, but it will fall apart, like what we've seen with GraphWiz now dropping off with 135. If those kind of things fall apart, then of course this is difficult for enterprise users. I think that's really a core difference compared also to Atlassian offerings.
I would say that is an important thing, because providing that maintenance and development is a crucial point. And I would say the people are looking for that in every country today. And I still wonder why we don't have more agencies providing that system services, but it's really complicated, so that some of course say, okay, we start with a hosting service, like if you look at Jeroen, Professional Wiki is I think ahead in this direction, offering and others, of course, offering hosting services, because you get some standards there, and you don't have to support I don't know, several releases of the software and several editions. Jeroen, do you think we have what would you say are the challenges today, or what are your experiences in the last 1 or 2 years?
Well, on the current topic, my experiences are mainly from the perspective of somebody that's maintaining several of these extensions as an open source contributor. And there I can say that support from companies like the ones that we are all running now is definitely welcome. If no support is coming, then it's nice that you get a bunch of work done for free by the open source community, but that only goes so far.
Yeah, that's true. So we have made some experiences with that subscription contract. So I would love to share this with everybody who wants to hear this, or you just can read it. It's a way how you can provide such services. And but what I would say is, looking in the last year, is that the last year was really crazy because of all this Corona thing. Because what I have experienced is that the projects are postponed, and you have a lot of, you're very busy, you're talking with many people, but they still wait until, I don't know for what, it's not really clear. And on the other hand, you have this Atlassian opportunity that Atlassian does not offer the server a license anymore, which means that there are some there is more there are more contacts in, I think, but people are still waiting. Also, I think I have the impression we wait for something at the moment. I don't know how you feel, or I feel that the market is growing or is somehow changing, but I cannot really put the finger in it and say that is really going on. It's unclear. Maybe somebody of you has another impression, or already some experiences what the market is doing at the moment.
I would say that over the last couple of years, I'm seeing customers who want more professionalism. Whereas before, MediaWiki could be viewed more of like kind of a hobby thing that, even a company might install, but still is something that's not really a professional tool. Whereas now they're looking for professional support. People by nature are not going to be proactive. They're not going to think about what's going to happen with the next upgrade. Is somebody maintaining all of our extensions and things like that? But they're still coming to us and saying, you know, we want a professional team. We want someone who's going to maintain, you know, what we have. So they understand that it's a necessity. And right now, what we're trying to help solve the extension maintenance issue by including not only updates in our support agreements, but even updates to major MediaWiki versions, and including that all of your extensions that you have right now, we're guaranteeing you that either we'll maintain them or we'll make sure someone else is maintaining them. But that way, you know, there's professional support, not just to answer your questions, but forever and ever, your wiki is not going to go out of date.
Yeah.
Ike, is that also because what Jeroen said? I thought Jeroen, you were saying that that there is not enough support. Perhaps you were talking about Semantic MediaWiki. There's not enough support to keep that in shape. So and there is. So Semantic MediaWiki, of course, might be a good example. It's obviously that it's very widely used, and it must be kept. It must be maintained in order to keep it in shape. But do you feel that there's not enough support for that? And should that be part? And Ike, you are saying that you guarantee quality not only of your own extensions but also of other extensions. So how do you do that? So that might be, and I might even, and when I come to think of it, we really like to contribute. We are working on some very interesting extensions, but perhaps we also, and you guys are always free to tell us that. Perhaps we must also be more active in helping to maintain and keeping up to date other extensions, such as Semantic MediaWiki. And I think we don't do that. I think I'm the only one who made a concrete contribution once to Semantic MediaWiki a long time ago. But I don't think we have. I don't think we do that.
Yeah, I would say we're certainly open. You know, if there are particular extensions that need help, you know, definitely reach out and we'll see what we can do. What we guarantee to our customers specifically is if nobody's, you know, maintaining an extension, you know, we monitor, and if there are lots of bug fixes that are outstanding and nobody's taking care of them or nobody's reviewing them, we'll do that. So we're not necessarily looking to improve extensions that are being maintained by someone already, but maybe they need help, although we're open to that. More, we're looking at extensions that have completely lost support, and now when our customers are going to upgrade, it's just not going to work at all. So we'll take ownership of those extensions and start maintaining them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really a lot of work. I mean, a few months ago we started contributing more also to the Semantic MediaWiki ecosystem, and we focused, for example, on the continuous integration stuff and try to get SMW and related extensions working. With focus on the Travis continuous integration stuff and so on. This is already a lot of work, and to get into this, it takes some time. Sometimes it's, let's say it's one of these not so big extensions, small extensions maintained by a single person. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky because probably there is no testing at all, which is the worst case, because then it's really a random thing if MediaWiki updates, and of course MediaWiki is a moving target. They change the interfaces, and so things might fall apart. You might receive deprecation warnings. You can ignore them for a while, but once a time, then things really break, and you need to take care of this. And the continuous integration is just a piece to at least get an indicator where you are at the moment. And monitoring this already is a huge of work, and we are not talking about extending, creating new features and stuff, just to make sure the things are working as they expected to be. And I think this is crucial for all the extensions that are usually used in the enterprise ecosystem. So people and other companies are definitely invited to join forces here, to take a closer look at what's going on the quality level of these extensions, try to contribute there, try to understand the code if there is no testing at all, try to get in touch with the maintainer, maybe sponsoring adding tests, because depends on your philosophy, but some people really start first writing tests and then write the code, which would be ideal, but often it's the other way around. It's writing code and having no tests at all, which of course is for an enterprise use case catastrophe, because you never know what you get. And that's important to have a code coverage, to see where we are, have a stable code base and improve quality. That's, for my opinion, essential. And that's why we said, okay, we try to contribute not only to new features and stuff, which we did in for result formats and so on, but more focusing on contributing also for the testing, which is really under the hood. I mean, you don't get a big hooray because you say, okay, we maintain several hours of tests. You get a big hooray if you promote a new feature, then everyone is, hey, that's cool and stuff. If you say, okay, we made sure it's working, still working, is okay, thanks. So, but this is work that needs to be done. And honestly, my hope is that more companies join forces there, make sure that the test stuff is working.
No, testing is quite important, and I completely agree. For me, is one of the big benefits or the big achievements of the last, let's say, 1.5 years, maybe 2 years, is exactly that. At least people are discussing that together. So if I would, maybe that is a wrong impression, but I would say there has something changed, that the different service providers, programmers, freelancers, companies, whoever, are now start working together, think how that could work out, and figure out what can be done. And I think that's a huge step in the right direction. The join forces is, of course, always sounds good, but in my daily work, I would say everybody is working on its own extensions or on his or her own tests. It's so busy already that it's really hard to contribute to others' extensions. It's not about I don't like to do that, but I have to take time for that. And sometimes I have to go really deep to understand what this extension is really doing. Semantic is a very good example for that. That you have really, Semantic is not an easy extension. If you want to change something there, it's really hard to understand, as far as I know. And I think that is a problem at the moment, but it's solvable. You can find solutions if you, for instance, get a bit better documentations, or maybe some better introductions, or introduce each other into the background of extensions, and that would help a lot to get contributors, I think. But maybe I'm completely wrong, because I'm not really the technician, but I see that this is an obstacle at the moment, that the people want to contribute, but it's just the time and the resources that are missing.
But that's not an excuse.
No, it's not.
Well, it's hard, folks. I mean, we are talking about consulting in MediaWiki ecospace, and part of our business models should be some kind of feedback, monetary or programmatically feedback to the sources we are using.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if you're digging for some rare resources in the world, and you expect everything is for free, then this would not work. And I'm really happy that I think, Jeroen, that was also an initiative by you and Karsten to initiate the sponsors thing on GitHub, which of course probably is not a big money stream, but probably this is a model for the future.
We're probably getting like €2 a month or something like that.
Yeah, so at the moment, it's way the middle. No, but honestly, I mean, that's what I see in the last few years, that the mindset also in the economy changed a little bit. That, for example, the value of open source is more recognized. Even with the sponsors model of GitHub, it's a little bit tricky for enterprises to establish a cash stream based on this. This has some administrative issues, but the idea behind it is the right way. Because, I mean, we are really snacking. I mean, MediaWiki itself has a different business model. It's, as a side effect, it can be used for enterprises. There are groups like the NW Stake and so on fostering this, but Semantic MediaWiki and so on, a lot of, besides research, have a lot of users in the enterprise ecosystem. And if you expect to have this for free, of course, you need to give it a price tag. What value does this tool have for me and my enterprise use cases? And then try to give something back, either by contributing to the sources or by sponsoring.
Yeah.
Otherwise, these projects will not survive. It's a matter of time until,
Yeah.
I mean, you can do this as a hobby and build an extension, but if something changes in your life situation, then probably you don't have the time and energy to continue working on this. And if you rely on an enterprise or a meta enterprise, let's say you buy something from Hello World, and this includes an extension that is maintained by a single person. The Hello World customers, of course, expect that these extensions working. So you need to take some responsibility in the sense of the software you're providing and the cores that are used there. Same for all of us. I mean, we are all building solutions based on open pieces of software.
Yes, you're right. I just can say that if you have a collection of extensions in our distribution, as you have as well, and so the first step, of course, is that you get on a regular basis, you get some tests and you see if there is a new release, a new LTS release, and you see if an extension is breaking or a functionality is broken. But that means you need a lot of tests, and you need, and sometimes you don't. You just find it after you have released it. So that is the first step. But the next should be, of course, that we can fix things, and or sometimes you just have to take over the maintenance of extensions. So for me, it's crucial that there are companies who are exactly doing that, is providing maintenance and services and SLAs to customers, and so that is a good basis for some sort of a quality assurance. And but I'm still wondering, because I see there is a huge demand for MediaWiki agencies, in my opinion, but we have just a few of them. So I think nearly everybody is here in the room. A few more we have, data specs and so on. Okay, and but why is it? And especially there was one question: why are there only a few in the United States and much more in Europe? And maybe I can say something about that, because you're the CTO of two companies at the moment. And I think that there is a reason.
Yeah, if only one was in Europe and one in the United States, I could compare the two experiences. I don't know that much about European consulting. I thought a long time about this question. And I kept on researching, what is the European culture like, and the corporate culture. And I kept on having ideas and researching it. I thought, well, maybe, Europeans are more willing to experiment with a tool like MediaWiki. Maybe they're more open to experimentation than American companies. And then I researched it and found that wasn't the case. Every hypothesis I had, I kept on, doing research and finding that it wasn't true. I basically came to the conclusion that the reason there aren't more MediaWiki companies in the United States is really because there aren't any more companies. In other words, I think the fact that the European companies exist brings more customers in. You're marketing certain products, you're marketing your services, and that makes it more appealing to the European market. And I think that the US companies have a lot more work to do to bring in more customers, because other than that, I can't think of a reason why it should be different between Europe and the US. Maybe someone else has an idea.
I guess your implicit statement was that European companies have European customers and US companies have US customers. But that's not the case in our, I think for us it's about 50-50. 50% of our customers is we have a very, 50-50, I don't know, but we have a lot of US customers. And
The answer is that the European companies are not only doing a better job marketing in Europe, but also bringing in US customers. Because I can say that, we have customers all over the world, but very, very few in Europe. So that would be my answer. I can't, because, right, what you're saying, why are US companies going to European companies instead of US companies? I can't think of any other reason.
Yeah. So I don't have a clue about this as well. Maybe others have. I also thought about this cultural thing, or maybe that there are different corporate cultures, like the Germans are more oriented on processes and documentation stuff, where you can use MediaWiki as well for that use cases. But I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. It's because if you come to France, for instance, there is we have also some companies there, but there are countries where you find nobody. I don't know if in in the Czech Republic, for instance, I think there is nobody, and so it's really interesting. And maybe some say the whole question is wrong. They say don't talk too much about MediaWiki. It's about use cases. Give the people a vision how they can use this and how they can use MediaWiki for. Make it the wiki way, bring new use cases, bring new ideas to the companies, and don't focus on being a MediaWiki service provider. And how do you think about that? Is that a direction? Is that something which you're thinking of if you try to reach out for potential customers or organizations?
I told you, you guys, that I started with not knowledge management systems. So we do weird things with MediaWiki. We do things that I'm sure that nobody else does that. We have roof people who are for roof companies, so flat roofs, and we have an inspection wiki that people use on the roof with their iPad or their smartphone to inspect the roof and to register failures and take pictures, and then in the back office they can create a report. They don't have to do anything. They just hit the button, and they really like it. And then it's very I totally understand when people say, well, why the hell would you do that with MediaWiki? But we did, and our customers are very happy with it, and we very much appreciate the flexibility, and we still go on with that because of the experience. So we do a lot of weird things, but you do definitely learn from that. So, but they don't care if it's MediaWiki or whatever. So it's only the use case that they are.
This is different in Europe and US. That was what was Richard's question. Do you think this is different?
Well, I thought also his question was, well, shouldn't you use on use cases instead of supporting MediaWiki? I don't know if that's a difference in US or Europe. I don't think so. This Cessna use case that Robus demonstrated with the search, that's an American customer. I
mean, maybe my 5 cents on that. We've been working for some years for a large US customer. What I learned from that project was maybe that's some difference. One thing is really the US guys, or let's say the outer European guys, usually more thinking in solutions. That's what Richard supposed that this could be a reason. And if you have a wiki, it's a white piece of paper. It's a project. Everyone is scared about a white paper. It's empty. You have to write something down. There's no structure, and it's clean and empty. So if you come with something like, oh, let's start a wiki. Well, okay, what's a wiki? It's like Wikipedia. Okay, how do we start? Well, you need to enter something. Yeah, but what shall we enter there? Yeah, everything you know. Okay. Is there a certain, no, you just start, do it the wiki way. Okay, I'm scared I don't start this. So that's one thing that scares people, but that's also here in Europe. The other thing is, I don't know if this is true, it's just my opinion. In the US, you have more these hire and fire mentality. So you're in a job, and within a few days or weeks, you're off the job, you're jumping. So your personal value is your personal knowledge. No one wants to share this. It's your personal asset. It's different in Europe. In Europe, you're usually more bound and working for a company more years. So you're more willing to contribute something to the ecosystem of an organization. It's not so person focused. It's more like a team and organization focused. In the US, if you, let's say, give away your personal knowledge, your personal assets for free in a wiki, well, you make yourself obsolete. And that might be a reason. I don't know if this is true. That's maybe some socialists can find out more on this. And there are some studies on this. It's just something I discovered in the projects we were doing with the US guys. Most people are like, oh no, I don't want to share this. Of course, no one is saying this. But under the hood, everyone tries to keep his personal knowledge in his brain. What's your opinion on that in the US market?
That sounds like a very good theory. It makes a lot of sense. You know, the American culture might be more focused on the individual than on the group. It makes a lot of sense. It'll answer why, I guess, US companies are less focused on MediaWiki. Although it won't answer Odd's point about U.S. companies who go to Europe instead of to the U.S. Consultants.
So, yeah, maybe we won't find a clear explanation for that. But so if I rush through the discussion here in the chat, so I would say also the audience is not really it's for one part of them are more on focusing on reliability and features, and that is important. So, for instance, there is somebody saying the reliability of MediaWiki and extensions is a point of concern to me as well. Also, when developers go a certain direction, breaking functionality or even simple things like no backwards compatibility to functions syntaxes. So it's important to have, on the one hand, something like continuity, technical skills, and resources. And then others say, okay, well, where was it? Sorry, I don't find it again, but it was really to start discussing about use cases and start with use cases and find the functionalities which is needed for that. So, also from my experience, this is exactly what happens. If you go in one direction and say, okay, we talk about technical solutions, then you're happy and say, you go out and say, oh, there we have technical solutions on one hand. And if you have done this, they say, oh, no, we have to talk about use cases. And then we will talk use cases next half of a year. And then you come back to technical things. So I think it's also a problem with MediaWiki itself because it opens so many opportunities. And yeah, there it was. Maybe we could collaborate a bit more on use cases. What features do we need and how can we implement them so that multiple consultants and clients can use it. So that's exactly, both sides of the discussion, what is needed or what there are demands for service providers. So somebody is saying that maybe we should join forces with the new MediaWiki LLC, where well-maintained extensions used by enterprises clients get trickle-down revenues. I'm not sure about that. I don't know what you think about that. If I had the impression that they move in a different direction, but maybe this is a good idea. What do you think about that?
That the Wikimedia LLC focus is on the Wikimedia Foundation itself, even though there is that enterprise word in there. It's Wikimedia enterprise use, but it's things that would benefit the Wikimedia Foundation in at least some sense. It's enterprise users paying the Wikimedia Foundation for content from Wikipedia and other sources. I don't see that it's so aligned with the Wikimedia Foundation's mission to be supporting enterprise users in the abstract, just because a certain extension is used in the enterprise world, but it's not used by them in the Wikimedia Foundation's wikis. It's not so aligned. It partially is because it brings more users to MediaWiki, which indirectly will always, benefit the foundation. If they're open to it, I'm definitely open to it. If they'd like to fund extension maintenance, definitely. I don't see that as so realistic, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, so I'm just saying it's definitely out of scope of the Wikimedia LLC.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, but it's an interesting new player, and so the ecosystem, I think, will benefit from every new player in the field. And another one has an idea that's focusing or addressing the problem that everybody is reinventing the wheel. So he said, what she said, I don't know. My idea is mostly that you as consultants and our clients come up with unique solutions and new extensions that we sometimes not share. While we could collaborate more on existing extensions so it's easier to maintain and we can build a roadmap together. Yeah, that's interesting because what is the problem that we don't work on existing extensions? Sometimes it's people are working on existing extensions, but sometimes you see that so every consultant or developer are inventing something new. but I think there is always a reason. Sometimes there is no good reason, sometimes a good reason. But can we collaborate more on existing extensions, and which one could that be, for instance?
But I disagree a little bit. I don't think there is so much reinventing the wheel. What I see is there's a lot of talking about we need to have a new organization or group managing things and so on. So 90% talking and only 10% coding and contributing. So the opposite would be great if we could come to 90% coding and contributing and just 10% talking. I personally, I'm also not involved in MW Stake in any of these organizations, because there is a platform. I mean, if you have something like GitHub, it's of course it's a commercial platform in the meanwhile, but it's well working. A lot of developers, or almost all developers, know how to work with these, and it's usually easy to contribute something. You have senior developers being able to easily review things in a pull request, giving comments. You have issue tracking and all these kind of things. You don't need to have something like, well, organization talking about a roadmap. I mean, you can make a proposal, open an issue. You have milestones. Someone with a senior level can put this in the milestones, taking care that nothing is breaking. You have versioning and release management. So this is helpful. So what I see as an improvement, instead of creating a new platform to talk about something, what would be really helpful is for, let's say, my consultancy experience is, I don't like the Gerrit workflow of Wikimedia. That's we are driven by GitHub. I know there is some initiatives to change this, but to me it's every time like, oh no, this is an extension on the Gerrit workflow. It's so up and down, and it takes hours compared. And if you have a new hire who never worked with these workflows, it takes you 2 days to ramp these people on to get everything up and running with Gerrit. So these are barriers, and I don't know. Marcus is writing in the post. It doesn't take that much time. I know, of course, people are used to Gerrit workflows. It could work, but if you never worked with this, GitHub, everyone knows GitHub, so it's really simple to contribute. And I don't know if we need organizations to talk about what's important and what things we need to do. Just get started on the GitHub repos or open issues. Try to learn and read, see what others are doing, and yeah, go ahead. Just my 5 cents.
Yeah.
Maybe Aaron, I mean, it's you are more in the code base than I am, but
Alexander,
what's your opinion on this?
So we are doing some weird things over here. I think we had a discussion at Wikibase a few months ago, I think, that we were saying that within our company we were too much reinventing the wheel. So we have a list now of extensions that we have, because of course we want to have some extensions or most extensions are to us come from the outside, our public extensions, we use them, and we nowadays create our own extensions. And the better you get at creating extensions, the more extensions you get. I think that's some automatic mechanism. But so we have our list, and we are focusing on understanding what extensions do and how to use them in what circumstances, because we want to reduce within our company the reinventing the wheel situation. So I totally understand what Richard was saying, because if that's an issue for us in our company, well, it's very likely to be an issue in the community. So I understand what you mean, but I'm not sure if the technology is, let's say, the Git or the Gerrit is the issue.
Yeah, I also don't know if the versioning system is the issue. It is an issue, maybe, but if we talk about sustainability and about continuity, it is hard to maintain 3,000 extensions. And so what I would say, if we have different service providers who have a set of extensions that they have a focus on, and we talk about that, then you get a minimum of set of extensions which are very popular or very often needed. And this is what we can, where I would say that we can cooperate, so that we know where should we cooperate and on what features should we cooperate. I think that is an important step in the next direction. And while we are talking here, the audience has already some great solutions for us, because regarding Alexander's idea to spend more time in testing. Cindy says, okay, this could be a scope of MW's stake, and Markus Glaser agrees that that could be so working on testing is something that we can work on together, and that would help us already a lot. And I think that is something where we can maybe agree on, and it's manageable within a certain time. But for a good testing, I have learned you have to know what are the functionalities and what are expected use cases, or what can you do with an extension. So I come back to the documentation issue. It's much easier to write a text for a well-documented extension and saying that, so, okay, we have also to become better in documentation of extensions. But that is, in my opinion, needed for writing good tests, I think. And yeah,
Richie, that's partly true. I mean, if you have code coverage, of course, code coverage is only one piece. You are right that the requirements and the integration stuff is important. But if you take a look at the code base, and you have code pieces there which do not have code coverage at all, which means there is no test run at all coming to that specific piece of code. This is definitely the worst case. So improving the code coverage would be a good starting point. Of course, it's not the solution to all issues, and you can write bad code coverage test cases as well. But at least we should get to a high coverage rate to all the extensions that are important.
Yeah.
I want to jump in there and caution against writing a lot of tests. You can detract from the value of a project by writing tests that are very inflexible and that bind the code to the form it is at the moment. So you can make it more difficult to change. That's one thing to watch out for. And this reminds me, earlier in the discussion, new extensions have been mentioned a number of times. And from the sustainability point of view, I think it also pays dividends to not just always jump to adding new features. I think that's very tempting for all of us if a customer comes in saying, I want this new thing, and we all keep adding extra stuff all the time. But as we all know, MediaWiki, together with Semantic MediaWiki, it's already a very powerful platform. I think by and large, it doesn't need more features. It needs more refinement.
I think this is an interesting remark, Jeroen. I tend to, and that's something that I think about a lot, to be honest, because on the one hand, I agree that you can do a lot with. In my first years, I didn't know anything about PHP, and so we did everything with existing, with a very limited set of extensions, and we got very well and very, let's say, resourceful at using extensions, and we did great things. But I'm very glad that we are also innovating and improving lots of things. So I find this really a very important and quite difficult subject. You want to stabilize, improve quality, use, not reinvent the wheel, but you also want to change, like you say, so be able to change and to improve and also to innovate. So how do you keep the balance? That's for us, it's really a tough subject.
Yeah.
So that means for me, because I'm the CTO of Wikibase Solutions, so at the moment it's a tough subject for me.
Yeah. And maybe for me, I make the difference between, you have on the one hand, you have project customers with highly customized systems, which is a completely different business, if you like to say, put that in that way, than to have something like let's say something like a product. And I think we are exactly in this situation that we all come, or that most of us have project customers, which expect to get good services for key accounts and people and stuff and discussions and customizing everything so that it fits into their environment and to their use cases. And on the other hand, the market is moving towards get a reliable, some sort of a product. And we see this in different discussions. We see this in this initiative of you with the content service provisioner. It's about Ike and Indiaron talking about a Canaster product. We have it already with the distribution of Alexander, for instance, or with the offerings, hosting offerings and the distribution offerings by Professional Wikis and others. So I think that is the situation. And so it's clear that not everybody will agree on how other companies solve problems. But what I would say is that it would be very interesting, it could be very interesting to have the different perspectives based on use cases to those to MediaWiki or within the MediaWiki ecosystem. It's like I always say, it's like Linux, and you get you have Red Hat and you have Ubuntu and you have Mint and you have different distributions, but they all are working together on a certain set of features and functionalities. And so it sounds like something that's not viable, that you can agree on a common ground and have different distributions and editions for the same thing. But I think that is the future. That is what we are maybe in the background are talking at the moment, and we're just discussing if we go first with use cases or if we go with functionalities. And where we struggle with is start with continuity, with maintenance, with testing, and find common standards for developers or even for the user interface so that things fit together. That's my impression there. Maybe you agree or you completely disagree on this view.
I think what we're coming out with is that we need to be spending more time and effort on fewer extensions. And I think a distribution is a very good way for us to do that. If, even if there are competing distributions, there are still common denominators, and there are still distributions. So we don't have to maintain 3,000 extensions. We may only have to maintain a couple hundred, and that's definitely much easier. And I think it makes the customers also more confident, that things are actually going to keep working because this is part of a distribution of some sort. But I think, to throw it back, it's not only our job as consultants, but, the end users also, before you install an extension, if you want to be sure that your extension is going to be supported, make sure you're installing the right one. Make sure you need an extension in the first place. If you don't need an extension, you don't have to worry about anything. And, you can figure out a better solution that doesn't require an extension. if you do need an extension, find one that's either maintained by the Wikimedia Foundation, a part of an existing distribution, or maintained by one of the MediaWiki companies, and you're much more likely to end up with a more stable product that won't break all of a sudden.
Okay. Oh, we are running out of time. We are just a bit over it. But Brian said that is okay. But anyway, maybe we should finish that panel. Maybe I would suggest just to maybe make a flashlight, looking back and maybe looking in the future. So what is to do in 2021 and 2022 to, in your opinion, what is the next big step for MediaWiki consultants?
What's the next thing for us to do?
Yeah. So what are you planning? What are your plans for this year, for next year?
Oh, okay. So I can tell you Wikitech's own plans. We're moving very heavily into Docker. Hopefully we're going to release that soon. We're working very hard on a very solid Docker image that's more enterprise focused, but it's mostly focused on our existing customers. So may not work for everybody, but definitely more of an enterprise focus than the standard Docker image. So we're moving very much into that, and we want to get more into hosting and more into support. So even though we're still doing lots of development, but I think there's a lot more to be done in the area of guaranteeing existing and future customers that they're going to have a stable platform, a stable piece of software. And I think it'll be very good for marketing as well. The Project Canasta that you mentioned, trying to get a distribution that works for everyone, trying to create certain packages that will cater to specific use cases. All those things I think will bring people in. So we're going to be focused, I would say, on getting a distribution and also marketing, bringing people from outside the current MediaWiki world and getting them to start using MediaWiki.
Sounds great. Jeroen, what are your plans for the next year? Are there plans?
I agree with Ike that it's interesting to talk to people from outside of the MediaWiki world. Recurring team since, the first SMWCon I attended was in 2009, and ever since people have been saying it's such a powerful platform, can serve so many people, deliver so much value, they just don't know about it. So yeah, I think things can be done on the marketing side. I also think a lot of things can be done on the quality side. Yeah.
Okay. Alexander, what are your plans for 2022?
Yeah, well, we are in the middle of the major version change from 131 to 135. And if you take a look at the extensions, be it SMW or the result formats, you still see that there are coming in open issues with these platforms. So there's still some work to do, not only switching our internal factory that is creating our distributions and deployments to this major change, but also helping to fix open issues that may arise, because it's probably not only an issue for some specific users, it might also be an issue then for our use cases. So that's, of course, technically one of the focus points for this year. The major version change, I would say we are half done, but as I said, if you take a look at what's popping up in the extensions corner, you see that this is breaking with 135, this is breaking. And again, someone needs to do it, so we try to contribute here, also depending a little bit on when we can start here. And yeah, continuing working on our business cases. We recently had one customer getting his information security management system audited and certified based on our solution. That's a major success. So this, of course, will be some story for probably the summer, but you will hear from that later. Maybe in SMWCon, that's an announcement.
Great! Can't wait to hear your experiences with that. So that's an important topic in information security. Yeah. So there's also the question for you.
Yeah, so
2022,
there's
what will come?
as well. Of course, that's a long way. Well, I think we are also heading for a distribution that would be our first distribution, but we really have to and less extensions. I was at the same time looking at some wikis of big customers of ours and to have a look how well we are doing in terms of let's say how many own extensions we have, and do we have that under control, and is it specific for so I think that all that is our focus. Our focus is the CSP and the quality and the things that we discussed right now, including making quality more sustainable, so that indeed the extensions that we think are important and that we use are going to be there in the next years, and we are a bit of, we've heard already about future developments and about the parser, how the parser is going to be changed and what the impact is going to be. We have had some information about the impact, and it's a very interesting development, but the impact is going to be very big. So I think next major, let's say next long-term support releases of MediaWiki are going to have even more impact than this 135, I think.
Yeah, could be, yeah.
So how are we going to prepare for that?
That is a good question for another panel.
Richard, what's the roadmap for BlueSpice?
What is the roadmap? We are, I think we have 3 topics. One is improving the usability and the user interface design. Because so we get the feedback that, or we see that becomes more and more important. Another thing will be, but I think next year is working on our cloud and our hosting system that has exactly the same thing like working on Docker, because you focus on some sort of a product, on a certain set of extensions, and you write tests for that. And this is exactly maybe the third thing at the moment is that we improve testing at our site and work on test infrastructures. So I would expect the benefit is that we also, the extensions we use, even third-party extensions, are better tested than before, and also the extensions we are publishing are better tested than before. But this is a huge effort, and yeah, that's, I think, and working on review. Yeah, that's it. So the review functionality is the oldest code we have in our extension, and so we want to refactor that and make that more flexible in the future. So and that is enough enough to do. So but yeah, let's do something together in making tests as far as needed, as Jeroen said. Don't make things too complicated. And yeah, let's go on with that discussion. Thank you for joining that panel. And yeah, I will hand over to the next session. And for that, I have to leave that one. Okay, see you. Thank you very much for your contributions, and see you soon.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.